There exist two kinds of rules, those handed down in the open and those murmured privately among individuals who recognize the true price of actual power. These are the kind of guidelines Machiavelli alluded to in the spaces between his statements. Realities too unforgiving for courteous circles. Most assume power is anchored in language, assertiveness, or command. Yet Machiavelli grasped a deeper understanding. Power never displays itself. Power remains withheld, especially amid public scrutiny. Because every entrance you make, you aren't simply observed. You are evaluated, not by allies, not by adversaries, but by possibility itself. And possibility is merciless. It hears every nuance of your voice. It examines the way you stand. It learns from your responses. The instant you expose too much, it recognizes where to strike. In public, you're either watching or being watched. And if you turn predictable, if you start leaking your feelings, perspectives, or urges, you become property of the crowd. They quit speculating about your next move. Now they're certain. Machiavelli realized the biggest threat wasn't a declared opponent. It was an unguarded spirit. That's why those who hold power don't just behave differently. They practice erasure. They remove any trace that suggests weakness until nothing remains but commanding control. These aren't rules for the gracious or the naive. They belong to those who want to walk unseen through every environment, yet always be sensed as the quiet center everyone orbits, to remain mysterious, unreachable, and unstoppable. And there are 9 ordinary human impulses, subtle and common, that tear down this invisibility. 9 tendencies most indulge without grasping how each saps their stature. Machiavelli wouldn't simply skirt around these. He would analyze and eliminate them from the public eye altogether. If you wish to generate dominance, not from pride, but from psychological weight, heed this. Every slip-up becomes a public stage. Every pause becomes rumor. The Machiavellian model is exact. Move gently. Be underestimated. Let them believe you're unfocused, passive, or uninterested. Then suddenly, let your outcomes emerge, finished, indisputable, uncontested. In that instant, the quiet that preceded triumph turns into force. They'll be left pondering your methods, your beginning, your silence about it. And that confusion, that void, gains more than any recognition. Here's reality. People crave stories. Give them one prematurely, and they'll own your tale before you do. But deprive them, and they'll create legends from your absence. So when plotting, keep it out of sight. When doing, do it under wraps. And when victorious, deliver results with no fanfare. Don't declare allegiances publicly. The initial principle is the one nearly all breach, because it feels instinctive, it feels natural. For Machiavelli, it was the first fracture in the armor of control. Never voice complaints among the public. Many think venting feels genuine, a chance to bond and find sympathy. But Machiavelli saw confession disguised as sincerity, as every complaint means acknowledging defeat. You communicate, "I lack a command over this." You reveal that something else holds sway over your mood. He said, "One who suffers should do so in silence, or they double their pain. First from hardship, then from exposure. When you air grievances before others, they don't find you relatable, they find you accessible. Accessible for pity, blame, or disregard. The influential endure without a sound. Their silence builds suspense. Because the second you broadcast distress, you redefine yourself. You're not seen as the person who shifts reality. You're the person reality acts on. Machiavelli's environment was harsh. He understood reputation shields. If people are convinced you withstand hardship without cracks, they trust you on a strategic level. You become reliable. You're the one who refuses to dissipate energy with every setback. When tempted to complain, resist. Hold firm with silence instead. That quiet doesn't shrink you. It unsettles others. They'll begin to speculate what you contemplate, how you plan, what step comes next. That ambiguity, that subtle tension, marks the birth of real authority. Never expose insecurity. Everybody possesses uncertainties. The powerful simply know these are to be buried, not paraded. Once you reveal your doubt, even bluntly, you put an impression in minds that won't fade. Whisper, "I don't excel at this," and folks act as if you never will. Say, "I'm learning," and your standing declines instantly. Machiavelli called this slow decay of standing. And once begun, it's tough to halt. The mind is indolent. It accepts public admissions as lasting realities. He perfected wearing a mask, not to deceive, but to protect. The crowd doesn't need access to your inner combat. They require your steadiness. Sense hesitancy, and they'll attack, interrogate, and challenge you. You have to practice deeper honesty, the sort which cloaks what isn't yet solid. You needn't fabricate, just speak sparingly. If questioned about confidence, reply, "Confident enough." When someone demands assurance, present a calm gesture and nothing more. In the silence that follows, let imaginations roam. Most will infer power. People project capability onto those without need for validation. That assumption transforms into dominance. Machiavelli's secret was this: people trust images they know least about. Hide more, they conjure more. Their imagination always exceeds reality. Avoid boasting of ambitions. Ambition dulls the instant it's revealed. Those who shout out their plans, dreams, and intentions surrender leverage. By exposing your path, you expose your weak points. You summon rivals, jealousy, and shadowy sabotage. Machiavelli observed men rise and falter due entirely to their speech. The wise move before they are detected, he noted. To him, sharing intent was foolish, reserved for the fame-starved. Announcing wins before earning them drains energy, meant for actual accomplishment. Even worse, it invites scrutiny, opens you to tracking, and when progress falls short, your setbacks get celebrated. The Machiavellian prefers reticence. Don't reveal your purpose until the arrow is flying, till action, remain a mystery within the din. A secret plan is unassailable, and in confusion, your force doubles. Avoid public involvement in trivial disputes. Loyalty felt privately is dignified. Publicly, it's restriction. Once you tie yourself emotionally to another's dispute, you inherit their baggage. Machiavelli advised rulers never to participate in battles lacking strategic merit. The most volatile conflicts aren't fought by force, but by opinion. People spill emotions seeking virtue, never realizing every stance marks their vulnerabilities. He said, "Defend visibly and your weaknesses are exposed." The world listens attentively for vulnerabilities. The crowd demands you pick sides. They crave reaction, because reaction is manipulation. If they predict your position, they strategize against you. The Machiavellian waits above the turmoil, analyzing. Not cowardice, but foresight. Neutrality isn't lack of conviction, it's preservation of freedom. Withholding public stance lets you bargain anywhere. When conflicts cease, both factions still require you. Loud loyalties die first. Quiet ones endure empires. Let others publicize their allegiances. Let them spend information freely. You remain motionless, study, and act only for advantage. Power aligns not out of virtue, but for trajectory. Never crave attention. Attention is addictive. It appears like power feeding the ego, yet it destroys discipline. Machiavelli believed visible need decays authority. The one who enters a scene begging for approval, oversized laughter, endless justification, is already weakened since needs are obvious. Whatever's seen can be toyed with. For the Machiavellian, attention is earned by standing apart, not by competing. True impact isn't from seeking the spotlight, but from drawing it through restraint. When everyone talks, silence becomes compelling. When all want notice, stillness becomes magnetic. Psychology is clear. Humanity pursues what evades them. They honor what withholds, not what pleads. Don't chase attention. Draw it with rarity. Speak only when quiet becomes necessary. Move with deliberation in chaos. When prompted for your views, answer sparingly, as if your words are precious. That reluctance makes your voice valuable. Machiavelli said, "Let them yearn for your words. Even your silence is wisdom." Desperation shouts, power whispers. The impatient always fill silence with revealing disorder. You, meanwhile, remain unchanged, the fixed center in a frenzy. Those desperate for attention become buffoons. Those who ration themselves become rulers of perception. Never lose composure under strain. Social moments expose disagreement, adversity, and challenge. Your serenity becomes your scepter. Everything else may fail, but with poise, your legend stands. Machiavelli saw rulers fall not from battle, but because of emotion. They didn't lose to enemies, they collapsed by faltering. A single tremor, little sign of stress, told observers, he can be breached. To the powerful, emotion is resource, but only if controlled. You needn't be numb, just unmoved outwardly. Most reveal their nerves under pressure. Fast speech, collapsed posture, efforts to persuade. Machiavelli wouldn't win moments. He'd own atmosphere, absorbing the tension effortlessly, motionless, like stone holding sunlight. If others expect fury and see peace, energy bends toward you. A calm figure tames storms. When others yell, you soften your tone. When accused, you respond with queries. When panic reigns, breathe slower. Small gestures are containment, not passivity. The masses watch your tone, not your words. If your demeanor endures pressure, they start to think you're different. That perception, even if false, becomes an edge. Machiavelli knew that believing you can't be unsettled. People begin self-policing in your presence. They adjust speech, distance, attitude. And this resets the hierarchy, subtly. Power doesn't enter through shouting or haste or assurance. It manifests through the rare quality of absolute serenity. Once refined, serenity resembles dominance. Never over-justify. The insecure explain and defend. The strong clarify occasionally. The truly powerful let stillness communicate. Machiavelli noted that over-explaining isn't connection, but surrender. Justifying yourself, you submit to others. You step down from leadership, giving up the frame. When you explain yourself, you're reacting. They interpret your words now, never explain. Instead, redirect with subtlety. If challenged, he'd reply with slight amusement, "Perhaps you see things well." This isn't denial, but reversal. It returns the responsibility of understanding. More explanation means smaller presence. Explanations fade, certainty persists. Survival in Machiavelli's world meant creating doubt rather than proving points. When misunderstood, refuse to elaborate. Say, "Time will tell," and stay silent. The space left echoes longer than speeches because in it, projection prevails, and projection multiplies your authority. Never show resentment after rejection. Rejection draws out bitterness. Machiavelli never sank. He transformed rejection into distance. Then, into legend. Typical responses to rejection are complaints, sarcasm, or open hurt. It soothes briefly but taints perception forever. Displaying bitterness says you valued what you weren't strong enough to keep. Machiavelli called it emotional surrender. If you act bitter, the public sees failure. You become understood as easy to dismiss. The strong respond not with anger, but with calm absence, a refusal that hints, "You didn't reject me, you freed me." When cast aside, when others are chosen, when doors close, don't chase, don't explain, don't mask pain with forced amusement. Withdraw quietly, emotionless. He who leaves unharmed becomes a mirror, reflecting insecurity to others. They start questioning your worth, doubting their choices, wondering if they lost something priceless. Machiavelli recognized this effect. Absence sharpens respect. Presence wears it down. Withdraw with dignity, and silence becomes your shield. Never let bitterness show, not even briefly. A faint smile, careful stance, and a discreet exit. Make your absence resonate, for that void is the crucible where new strength is born. Never publicly critique the powerful. Many break this for status, thinking it brings admiration. It never does. It brings attention without leverage. Dangerous. Machiavelli saw this endlessly. Lesser figures attacked the rulers, but truth was punished as betrayal, and defeat brought no support. Crowds rally behind strength, not candor. He wouldn't attack those above. He'd observe, collect vulnerabilities, and wait. Perfect timing turns flattery into gain and exposes truth only when it cuts deepest. Strike too soon, look jealous. Strike too late, seem irrelevant. Strike as decay unfolds, and your word becomes destiny. Never disrupt a downfall. Let inevitability finish pride. Attacking those above proves your position below. If wronged by power, never respond in public. Respond shrewdly. Align with rising successors if old authority dwindles. If power holds, offer precise compliments and shelter beneath it. Survival among egos means kneeling subtly. The goal is camouflage, not surrender. If truth must be spoken, let silence prompt others to say it for you. Machiavelli's influence was never by statement, but by implication. He let others voice what he orchestrated. He didn't accuse. He simply stood beside strength, letting weakness show on its own. Crowds whispered, "Not him." Restraint is power. Truth ruins only its owner. The Machiavellian never wins battles through display, but through unseen planning. These 9 lessons aren't for image, but for fortification. Remove these flaws and you create emptiness around you, where image does the work. People sense assurance where they see authority. They sense depth in quiet. They sense muscle in your withdrawal. Machiavelli's central lesson wasn't about subduing others, but about controlling reality itself. Most offer influence for approval. Your method is inverse. Step out of the chaos. Observe. Move in rhythms that leave intentions ambiguous. That haze shifts presence to legend. The Machiavellian doesn't talk to be decoded. He talks to be long remembered. He acts not to impress, but to unsettle certainty. The unpredictable force shapes the room. When unpredictability reigns, you know mastery of the laws Machiavelli himself feared to breach. Let go of distractions. Silence urges that expose weaknesses. Complaint, doubt, boasting, reactivity, erase them. Now absence rings out. In that deliberate emptiness, a new gravitational pull takes root. Restraint is half the equation. The other half, direction. Unfocused silence is mere emptiness, but focused silence becomes subterranean strength, an imperceptible hand bending others without reveal. Machiavelli grasped this metamorphosis more than anyone. Power arises not by occupying space, but by sculpting it. The noisy crowd never competed. He manipulated the room's atmosphere. His tension drew attention even during quiet. It's an alchemy. Restraint becomes radiance. Gaps become magnetic fields. Poise grows into command. You don't dominate by being the loudest, but by being unyieldingly present. Now let's consider the steps to embody. 5 traits complete this change. They don't project, they emanate. 5 distinct qualities finish the evolution. They don't announce themselves, they radiate. First, mastered presence. Learn to occupy surroundings as if you hold them before you truly do. Composure, not confidence, is essential. Confidence aims for notice. Composure absorbs it. Enter rooms without haste. Let events adapt to you. Move at a measured pace. Speak after others pause, but before silence becomes awkward. That delay is your command post. Machiavelli's elite moved like chess champions, measured and deliberate, communicating status. The rushed are reacting. Those who wait are strategizing. Notice reactions when you arrive. Who tenses, who exaggerates, who stares or looks away. These micro cues are revelations. Read them quietly, and you never struggle for control. Reign begins where exposure ends. Second, calculated warmth. Coldness isolates, but it doesn't forge trust. Machiavelli taught that charm. Used sparingly, wielded powerful results. He advised to deploy warmth precisely, not habitually. Give real attention one-on-one, not to groups. Groups dilute reach. Individuals intensify it. Make someone feel seen individually, and they echo your influence widely. So the greatest leaders smiled with intent. Every gesture encoded, every kindness a calculated move. This may appear manipulative to outsiders, but for a Machiavellian, it is efficiency. Don't waste warmth, let precision unlock sway. Strategic warmth unlocks defenses because people want to trust, and once they want to, you prevail. Third, purposeful silence, not speechlessness, but active pause. Used skillfully, it rewires exchanges since people dread silence. They rush to fill it, exposing themselves. Machiavelli used silence like a duelist uses distance, measuring for a decisive move. During debates or meetings, use silence with steady glance. Discomfort will unfold gradually. Revelations spill that you never needed to prompt. Silence is patient predation, making others guess your thoughts, and those guesses reach further than any dialogue. Fourth, indirect influence. The powerful avoid orders. They guide by suggestion. Machiavelli knew the supreme command is the one that seems to arise in another's mind. He'd steer by questioning, implanting action in their thoughts. Instead of do this, he'd hint, would that deliver faster? Rather than correcting, he'd show curiosity. Inquiry dresses control as partnership. It's invisible guidance. They think they're steering, but orbit your axis. Once mastered, your sway needs no defense. People bolster your plan, convinced it's their own. Machiavelli argued this was the finest mastery, control that hides itself. Fifth, detached sense of self. At the pinnacle pulses detachment. You end measurement by others' reactions. You aren't a reflection. You are the mirror. Machiavelli realized public authority collapses if built on public approval. Once you seek applause, you lose command. But with detachment, approval chases you. You become mysterious. Indecipherable figures become legendary. People fear what they can't label. Respect what they can't predict. Withdraw from reputation, applause, gossip, misunderstanding. Not out of apathy, but because overt caring disguises weakness. Don't aim for indifference, but autonomy. Once you stop craving feedback, You become the unmoving axis in a spinning world. Machiavelli's concept of power was structure, not noise. The 9 negative laws are your base. Rigid, disciplined, unbreakable. The 5 strengths build the temple above. Elegant, magnetic, formidable. Together they build someone unreadable, calm, and a silence imposing. The Machiavellian doesn't conquer by violence, but by becoming a force of nature. Power appears as a universal principle, not a mere ambition. Reach that stage, and something subtle shifts. You cease chasing authority. Authority starts to revolve around you.